and we have very different dynamics. So I suppose you might be needing to tweak things to suit your association or organisation or council. As Leslie says, I'm the lead on customer involvement for Scotland, and we have around 4,000 customers in Scotland between Dumfries and Dundee. We don't have a big following digitally, so we need to mostly contact customers by telephone or conference call or email. And today I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've been doing with customers since lockdown occurred, and hopefully give you some ideas. So the first thing we've been doing is contacting customers by phone to do consultations. We've got a customer satisfaction consultation that's on the go, and we've sent out a draft of the consultation, and we invited customers to look over it and give us feedback. We then had a telephone consultation that I took all the comments and added them to a copy we had and forwarded them for consideration, so that customers' views were really represented and what questions were asked, if they wanted things removed, if they wanted things added. We've also had to consider the fact that we were going to do a face-to-face consultation. This is now going to probably need to be a telephone consultation. The other thing we did was we did some consultation on customers' preferences for how we manage meetings during this time, what format they take, how they would like to be kept informed, how long they would like the meetings to be, what topics they would like to cover, what their priorities were. We've set an agenda for a meeting next week, which will have 6 items, 10 minutes each item. Customers said they wanted the meetings to be kept to 1 hour. We also took a note of any of customers' priorities for in the lockdown period while service contracts have not been operational. What do they want contractors to do to try to kind of compensate for the service charges that have been paid? So we took account of everything they said for that. And I've been doing fortnightly quizzes with customers. So it actually started off as a bit of a giggle, but just to get everybody kind of together, and it has really just grown arms and legs. So now customers regularly take part in the quizzes, and in every quiz I have some questions about the regulator, the charter, scrutiny, and it's a wee bit devious, but it allows me to look and gauge what customers are coping with, what they're able to do, and then forward plan training based on their skills and knowledge. So it's helping them. I mean, if we called it a test, they'd be horrified and nobody would take part. But because we call it a quiz, we're actually able to derive other information that is really going to help up their skills and help them later. But it's a fantastic opportunity for customers to speak to each other, because they miss the social interaction of attending meetings. So it's a great opportunity for that too. I've also been assisting housing managers with our amenity houses. We've got about 120 customers who live in houses that were sheltered accommodation, are now amenity, so they're vulnerable customers. And in the prior to lockdown, the housing manager would go and visit them, and then every 2 weeks, so they would have a face-to-face contact, and they miss that now. So I contact them. I took on that role as an additional role to what I would normally do, because I missed the face-to-face contact too. So I contact them, and oh my goodness, I'm on one lady's friends and family. It's got that, sort of stage. It's very nice, and I've been able to help people to do all sorts of things, like arrange for prescriptions to be delivered, arranging for putting people in contact with Food Train where they couldn't get groceries, but I heard of 1 or 2 customers who were shielded but were going out because they didn't have anybody to get shopping for them. So we've been able to get Food Train involved so that they could arrange for that. I've been able to sign people onto local voluntary services that can help them as well. And I actually found one customer who was telling me how disappointed he was that he's 100 this week. And he had a big birthday party planned and didn't make it. And we managed to get a nice card sent to him in a hamper just as a recognition of his birthday. But it was nice that people are sharing those sorts of things with us. So let me just see if I can move these slides. Just okay. Can you see the next one? I think there's a bit of a lag. I think it maybe takes a little minute or two to come up.
I think there's a delay there, Evelyn.
I won't worry too much about the slides. What I was also going to say is another thing is we do weekly email consultations with every customer who's given us an email address. Contact them, asking them about how they're feeling and how they feel the COVID outbreak has affected them and their well-being. And when they respond, I recently got feedback from one customer in Scotland, because as I said, we're a national company, we've been doing it throughout the whole company, but there was one came to me in Scotland and I was able to, I actually knew the customer and I had a rapport with them anyway, so I forwarded his details on to the colleague that deals with that area, but I was also able to speak to him and give him that sort of more sort of personalised contact as well. I think that really helps as well. So it's amazing how much customers need even just a chat. It's just, I can't tell you how rewarding it is when you hear from people and they just say, oh, you've made my day, I've not spoke to anybody today, and things like that. And I never expected that sort of outcome, to be honest. I thought it would actually be more of a job, but it's actually really rewarding to be doing that. And from that, there has been other things that I like. There's customers that we don't reach because they don't get out, they're immobile, they're in their homes, they're not digitally connected, so they're missed off the radar a lot of the time. But by being able to speak to them on the phone, build that rapport, that they talk to you a bit more about their likes and dislikes. And I've picked up a few armchair critics along the way. So I think, you know, there are hidden bonuses there. And for those who are feeling a bit low mood, you're able to put them in contact with, you know, things like mood cafes. And even now I use quite often the Scottish Government's clearyourhead.scot, which I think is a really nice site for people to go into. And it looks, I've gone in and had a look and I think it looks really friendly and open and easy to use. It doesn't look like it's all technical jargon. So just, I realise that obviously we all have different ways of working. We work within different parameters, so there isn't a one size fits all. But I just think it's really crucial that we keep in contact with our customers, because there is a two-way benefit there. So I just hope that from everybody who talks today that we all get something out of this. Thanks so much for letting me talk to you today. If there is any questions, if you could just keep them until the end, and I'm happy to answer.
Thanks so much, Evelyn. Thank you. If you could remove your presentation, that would be great. Thank you. Next speaker in alphabetical order is Lisa Lafferty. Lisa is a development officer with TPAS Scotland, works primarily in Stirling with Stirling Tenants Assembly and the Stirling Council, but also works on TPAS projects. So Lisa, you've got your presentation there?
Hi everybody. Yes, as Leslie says, can you hear me okay? Yeah. As Leslie says, I work for TPAS, but I'm mainly based in Stirling Council. So I work closely with a group of tenants called the Stirling Tenants Assembly. I've put my presentation up there. Is everybody able to see that there? Yep. Okay, good. Yep. That's a picture of the Stirling Tenants Assembly there. So they're a great bunch of people who are very, very passionate about housing. They're constantly involved in everything to do with housing. If there's anything going on in housing, they want to know about it and they want to get involved, which is what we want. They're usually attending 3-4 meetings a week with myself and people from the council, including the councillors. And then all of a sudden lockdown happened and this all had to stop, and they thought, no, this isn't good enough, we need to still be involved. So just to kind of get them involved, the first thing they done was We set up just a wee group chat via Messenger because most of them are on Facebook. So that was just like a wee informal chat just to kind of say, how are you? And we were all talking to each other, and I was involved in that as well. And then we started talking more about things that was going on in housing and social issues and what was happening with repairs during lockdown. Somebody else was needing like physicians who did the contact and stuff, so we thought, right, let's hold a proper meeting. So what we did was we held a meeting via a Messenger video call. Now, a lot of them had used Messenger before, but they'd never used it via the Messenger call, and that worked. It worked for us. It's probably not the formal way to do it. However, it did work for the tenants, so that was the first thing we did. And they seem to use Messenger quite a lot now with each other. They chat to each other, and they'll say, rather than just pick up the phone or send an email, they'll say, let's do a video chat. So they're quite confident about doing it now, so it's great. So we had our first meeting, and following that, we then realised that there was a lot of people out there that weren't getting the information. So what I done was I created like a work-based Facebook account. So I've got a personal account and we've got a TPAS account, but I set up an account just purely for still-in tenants. And I've lost my presentation there. Give me a wee second to find it. Okay. So set up this work-based Facebook account, invited tenants and staff to join the page, and then what I do is I just go into the Stirling Council website and I just check the updates every day and share them on this Facebook page. I also check the NHS updates, the government updates, any support services that's out there that might be able to help with like people that's maybe losing their jobs and stuff like that. The Raploch Community Project do a lot of support with things like that, so share things like that, citizens advice in Stirling as well. Anything that I think might be helpful to tenants I share on this page, and I ask the tenants and the staff to share out with as well. So that seems to be working quite well as well. The next thing we're hoping to do is we're still hoping to have a first official council meeting. So they have a meeting called the Housing Advisory Group, and that's a meeting that involves the councillors as well. And we were hoping to still, because there's things still going on in the council and we need to get papers put through and stuff. So instead of everything being put on hold, we thought, well, we can still do it. But obviously Messenger isn't the best way to do it. So we've done a couple of trials with the tenants. We tried WebEx because it was free, and then Teams brought out a free system as well. So we're using Teams. We've decided, I think we're going to use Teams. Teams is a wee bit more professional and there didn't seem to be so much disturbance. But because this is going to be a formal meeting rather than a kind of informal chat, I set up like a guide to getting the best out of your video meeting as well. Which hopefully this is working since I've wrote this guide. But on this guide, it was like, because tenants don't use this an awful lot, a lot of people were maybe having a video, but they were looking away when they were talking. They weren't in a very good lit room. All these kind of things. They weren't muting their mic, so we were getting all the background noise. So it's all these kind of wee hints that I've put in it just to kind of let them get the best experience, and let us get the best experience as well. So I think practice makes perfect, so hopefully we'll get there for next week's meeting. There's a lot of tenants that's not online, but they can join the meetings via the telephone conference facilities. So that's just a case of there's a phone number that they need to phone, and they can phone up and they can join the meeting via the telephone. So that might be quite good for some of our tenants who aren't on computers, and some of them don't have smartphones either, so they can just do it from their main line. The other thing we've just been doing with tenants that's not online is just phoning them on a regular basis, basically just to check their welfare and to have a wee general chat. And as Evelyn says, as soon as you phone them, like, oh, it's somebody to talk to, so you can be on the phone for hours. But no, it's good, and it is quite rewarding, because that's what our job is about talking to people. So when you do phone somebody and they're delighted to hear from you and you can help them in any way, it is good. So the housing officers officers have also been doing that as well. They've been phoning around all their vulnerable tenants, because Stirling Council's got just over 5,500 tenants, so there's a lot of vulnerable tenants out there that obviously I can't reach. So the housing officers are doing that, and I think they're doing that on a weekly basis as well. And the other thing we've produced for, especially for tenants that's not online, is we've got our newsletter going out. There's a lot of information in the newsletter about COVID-19, about support services, about a question and answers regarding the shielding, regarding diagnosis, regarding how you get food packages, if you need more support or whatever, who to contact. But apart from that, we've also put in a real life story about a tenant that's not COVID related, because I think we need to kind of come away from that sometimes, and benefit advice, and also to show what other jobs the staff are doing, because a lot of staff are volunteering. They can't currently do their own jobs, so they're out delivering food parcels. Some of them are delivering PPE to services that need it. And then the tenants have also done their own newsletter as well, just to update everybody on what they're doing as well. And we've included in the newsletter that if anybody else wants to get involved or join our virtual meetings, that they can. So that's basically what we're doing in Stirling. There's a wee photograph there of some of our tenants in our group chat, and I've just put the most important thing is keeping in touch and letting our tenants know that we're there if they need us. That's all we can really do at this point, and it is a difficult situation because we are used to being face to face with them and in meetings and organising different events, but obviously just now we can't do that, so we're really restricted. But I think as long as we show them but we're just doing things a bit differently, I think that's definitely the way to go. Okay.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm sure there'll be questions for you as well at the end. And I think we're moving on to Max now. Max Scotto. Max is the Tenant Participation Officer with Kingdom Housing Association in Fife. And Max also has a presentation.
Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, thanks, Max. We can hear you.
I couldn't download the app for Teams.
Okay.
So I cannot see everyone either than the person that's speaking. So if you have any questions, you probably will have to see who has any questions and let me know. What I will try to do is to share the screen. I'm using Chrome. I don't know whether it will work or not. I'll try. So if you can see it, Leslie, you just let me know. Share screen. I only have one slide because it's a 5-minute presentation. It's just bullet points, so you can see that. So if I cannot manage, it doesn't matter. Let me see.
I'm not seeing anything yet, Max.
No, coming, just coming.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
You see that?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Everyone? Okay. And can you hear me still? Hello?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you, Max.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Well, thank you also for inviting me to speak today. Briefly, what we've been doing as an organization is very similar to what Eveline said and Leza as well. From even before the lockdown, we started to plan in terms of tenant participation, how we can keep in touch with people. I was very fortunate to be able to work from home on odd days. So I was already set up for working from home. Most of the people in my organization were as well. So I started my lockdown probably a week ahead of everyone else. We were at the time just beginning that week to do our tenant satisfaction survey. And we really wanted to do more face-to-face surveys this time to see whether the results were any different. Obviously, the lockdown came along, so we had to adapt. We had to judge whether to suspend it or carry on, and we decided to carry on, and we did it over the telephone. It was quite good. It was successful. We got a good number of responses, and the results have gone up, which is a positive. So what we and I particularly immediately recognize is not just about COVID and how it has impacted people. I was just trying to see how we can use this situation to maybe engage with other people that we couldn't engage before. Of course, we had to look after people who engage with us. Most of them are connected. We have a tenant participation register with over 100 people who regularly engage and respond to surveys and come to focus groups. So I phoned them all. just to see how they were and, you know, how this situation was impacting on them. They were all very happy to receive information and to engage with me whenever possible. So what we have done is developed we have like a weekly meeting, but not everyone turns up, obviously, at that weekly meeting, and it's all done through Zoom. So we call it a chat and a cuppa, and it's just basically sometimes half an hour to see how people are. I just keep them up to date with the things that I'm just about to tell you, you know, the plans that we have, so they know ahead of the other tenants before anything goes out, you know, what's going on. Our housing officers have also been phoning people, particularly in relation to welfare, but just to talk to people as well. So they are doing over 100 calls a week, and that is not counting all the telephone and sometimes it has to be face-to-face visits that our support workers, because we have two tenancy support officers that are employed by Kingdom, and we have an energy advice officer as well. So they are supporting the most vulnerable tenants too. With these weekly telephone calls and daily telephone calls that our officers they're also picking up, like what Evelyn was saying, people who are maybe physically well, but they are isolated, you know, and things go through their lives. It could be what Evelyn was saying, you know, a birthday, it could be somebody that passes away, or maybe holidays that were planned to reunite with family members who are far away, and now they were frustrated by, you know, the lockdown. So we put together a funding or a fund, I would say, a pot of money, a small pot of money that we could have access to if we wanted to treat someone. So we've been able to use that to deliver flowers to tenants, boxes of chocolates, cake boxes and things like that, just to cheer people up when they were really under the weather, that we were aware of that. So that has been, you know, quite positive, and tenants have appreciated that. We have recently launched also funding scheme to help people who have been affected by COVID-19 economically. So people who have had a drop of income or a situation that cropped up that is linked to COVID, and it cannot be rent arrears, but they can fill in a very easy to fill in application form and apply for a one-off payment of £250. And there is obviously a procedure and a mechanism of the Director of Housing to approve that, and then our Chief Executive to authorize it. So that's something that hopefully we will be able to use when there are people that are really needing it and disadvantaged by this situation. Our scrutiny panel, which is made up of, at the moment, three members. So they have continued to meet using Zoom. For that, we helped them, two of our members who didn't have a device with a camera, so we delivered Chromebook, and we just helped them to be able to connect. So they've been, you know, we've been able to meet and to talk using Zoom. One of the opportunities that I saw with this, it was to be able to reach out to former scrutiny panel members, because there's a couple of members who were excellent and they had to step down because of health reasons that affected their mobility. So they were not able to travel and to drive and to come to meetings, and that was the reason that they had to come off. But now the panel is meeting remotely anyway, so these former members have been also participating in our weekly meetings, not with the panel, but in a way I think is helping them to understand and lose the fear of using video conference packages. So one of them has already said that they would be happy to join the panel if we continue to work remotely. And there's a few other tenants who have always been very engaged, and they work full time, so their time is limited, but now they have expressed an interest in working with the panel to review the next piece of scrutiny that the panel will be doing, which is something to do with repairs. They are looking at the results of the tenant satisfaction survey, and they picked up that area. So we're looking at ways of doing it remotely, which is very exciting. We had planned do a one-day training for scrutiny panel members in-house. We were going to do it in partnership with another organization. So we're looking at how we can deliver that remotely for both organizations as well. One of the exciting things that you might see the photograph there at the bottom is our annual gathering. We have a summer gathering every year, and it's always something that people look forward to. This year, for example, we're going to be at Blair Drummond Safari Park. So it tends to attract families with children, and we do workshops, and then obviously they have a free day and they can enjoy the park and the facilities. Obviously this year we can't do that. So we've decided to go ahead with a virtual summer gathering, which will be done through Zoom. So we're going to offer workshops for children and for adults. For children, there will be workshops. One is an art workshop. The other one is a workshop with a biologist that will teach children about bees and wasps. It's very fun and it's very engaging because my son has participated in workshops like that with these two professionals. So I've seen, that it works well on Zoom, although you think, how is she going to do that? But it works very well. For adults, we have mindfulness, which we offer to our tenants anyway throughout, this pandemic. And we also have put Pilates. So these are two practitioners that can deliver the sessions via video conference, and the tenants who attend or sign up for that, they will be entitled to follow that on with more sessions after the gathering, at least to complete a block of 5 or 6 sessions of Pilates. And there is possibly the opportunity for them to continue with the sessions, because we have recorded Pilates sessions for the staff in our intranet, so we might find a way to give them access to that as well. So with all these things that we are doing, really, we're trying to help people to lose the fear and to try this new technology. In the past, we have used Facebook, and we have used a Facebook closed discussion group, which we continue to use, and we intend to keep using it. But we want to be able to replace our focus groups, which were not very well attended, to be quite frank, with, remote focus groups. So we want to use video conferencing, and it's been working so far. We're getting more people using it than we had when we had, fleshly or people-to-people, focus groups that we have to travel and go to different locations, and maybe we would just go to one location and just meet 1 or 2 people, because we covered a wide geographical area. But again, we don't want to forget those who don't have the internet, and maybe they don't have a desire to have the internet. So what I'm working to promote more and more now, and I am designing some publicity material in particular to invite people to the gathering and make it very clear. We want to engage with people who don't have video technology, but they have a landline or a mobile phone, because they can also phone and link in, and they can hear what's going on, and they can participate through the phone. So we've done it before by phoning a person, so it's always one-to-one. But now we want to work in setting up maybe a telephone discussion group, or groups, because obviously they have to be small. You cannot have more than 5 to 10 people, probably would be the maximum. So if there is an appetite for that, we can set that up. And then after the gathering, we want to use that platform of tenants who are already connected, who are using Zoom or are using the telephone, to be able to carry on our review of our tenant participation strategy. So we have to do that this year, and we decided we will continue with that project. So we will launch that at the gathering, and then there's already a group of tenants that are happy to engage with us. And of course, we will continue to use, surveys and the usual postal and telephone surveys and online surveys as well. So I think I've covered more or less what our plans are, and hopefully that, that will be clear. And any questions you can ask us later on.
Thanks for that. Thank you, Max. Thank you. So 3 interesting speakers with different perspectives, all doing different kind of things. And already I've had one question. I seem to be still on your screen somehow or other, Max. Could you take away the background? There we are. Thank you.
I don't know. I can't see you.
That's probably a good thing, Max. I've already got one question from Sheena McNally from Supporting Communities in Northern Ireland. Sheena said she's sorry her connectivity is pretty poor and wondered if Lisa would be able to share her guide to making the most out of meetings with the rest of the people who are in the conversation. Lisa?
Yes, that'd be fine. Yes, I can share that.
Okay, thank you. So, anyone want to put their hand up? Anne? Anne Ross? Hello?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
And thanks, Lily. Just a quick question for Lisa as well. And I mean, all the talkers were fabulous and all the ideas were brilliant. And just how did she manage to get her newsletter out at this time? Did she use a publication company or did she just do a leaflet and get posted by the office? I'm just wondering how she managed that.
Okay, it's very difficult to hear you, Anne, but I think you're asking if how Lisa managed to get her newsletter out using post or what other method.
Yes. Please.
Okay, thanks, Lisa.
Well, I'm being a bit cheeky with that one because it's still at the printer, so we've not actually posted it yet. We use a distribution company. We usually use that. So when I'd sent it on to the communications group, it says they were going to contact them to find out if they could send it out. If we can't send it out, then we're going to put it on our website and just do it that way, but we're hoping that we are going to be able to send it out. If we need to just do it through Royal Mail, we'll do it that way as well.
Okay, thank you. I think I see Mandy McClellan from Highland Council. Mandy, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hi. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Evelyn, I loved the idea of your quiz to gauge training needs. Would you be prepared to share some of your questions with us?
Yes, absolutely. That's no problem. I mean, some of them are relevant to our organisation, but some of them are about the Charter or the Scottish Housing Regulator. So yeah, absolutely. I'll share that with you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Okay, someone has said, Leslie, I don't have a hand raise on mine. Can I ask Lisa, has she set up a private Facebook page to, so this technology is great until you can't get it to work. Can I ask Lisa to, has she set up a private Facebook page for her tenants? Sharon Rowett.
Sorry, it's me, Leslie. It's
Okay.
Sharon from Warkfield. It was
hi,
me.
Sharon.
Just to see if she set up a private Facebook page or was it a public one?
The tenants have their own Facebook page. The Stirling Tenants Assembly have their own Facebook page, but this was just a general Facebook page for everybody. So I've made it a closed group. So they still need to request, send a friend request to me. But all the people that I've added to it have either been Stirling Council staff, who I know, I've not just been adding people willy-nilly that work for Stirling Council, but people that I know from Stirling Council and the tenants, and I've just been asking them to share stuff as well. But I have made it a closed group so that we don't get any kind of strange things coming onto it.
I think just for your information, we're setting up something called Workplace that Lisa's setting up, and some of you may have had an invite to that. Now, if everyone's okay with that we've got all of your email addresses that we can invite you to Workplace, and it's a TP chat. It's a closed group. Well, it's kind of semi-closed, and it's an opportunity for us and anyone to upload the things that they're doing. So Lisa can upload her guide, Eveline can upload her questions, Max can upload some of the stuff, the newsletters and things that he's doing. So you need to accept the invitation though. So once, maybe today, later on today or tomorrow, we'll get that invitation out to everybody, and it's only for TP workers in Scotland. We were wondering about setting something up, as Lisa has done in Stirling Council, for tenants or for scrutiny members, and we can put our toe in the water with that one as well. So someone, Anne, could you want to take your hand down again, unless you've got another question? No. Is there anyone else got any more questions? Mandy, do you have another question there? No, Mandy, you need to take your hand down. Max, do you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's not a question, it's just to share something in response to a question about what Lesa was using for her newsletter. What we have used, and we've used it already a few times for sending letters to tenants, and certainly I will use it to send invitations and things like that. It's called Stamp with double N. See if I can share it's STANNP. Stamp.com, and what they do is they can print your letters. They also have some templates of postcards and publicity material, and there is obviously a secure protocols for you to share addresses with them. You can do all that in your account. So basically they print the envelope and they post directly, and the prices are very competitive if you think about the staff time of putting and sorting mail and all that. So that's what we are using just now, and it worked very well the last couple of times.
Good, thanks for that, Max. Evelyn, can I ask you to mention your hope box?
Yep, you can. My hope box is an idea that if you're feeling a bit down during this time and you're pining to do something, I've got a box, and actually my daughters have got one, but also I've now got some customers who've got them because I shared the idea, and they write down where they'd like to go, what they'd like to do, what it is that they're missing out on. And then when things return to something like a normality, they can take the slips of paper out of their box, tin or jar, and look at what it was they really wanted to do and put that on their list for things to get them out of lockdown. And it just gives you a bit of something to look forward to, that that whilst you're thinking about all these things just now, that you can do all those things at some point later, and maybe a bit at a time as lockdown's released just gradually. But yeah, and I think I've found it really helpful, and I know both of my daughters have, but so have one or two customers, because they've said they were going to do that as well. So it's just an idea.
Thank you. Has anyone got any other questions before I start picking on people? Catherine. I just can see you there. We had a conversation the other week, and that you're actually doing a bit of work with your scrutiny panel. Do you want to just let us know what you're up to with the panel? You can say no, but not really.
I'm just trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Yeah, we're using Zoom Pro with Carto. So that's working really, really well for us. The beauty of it for us is with the Pro version, obviously there's no limit to how many participants you can have, and there's no limit, there's no time restriction either. But the beauty of it for us is that people can call in and still be involved in the same meeting at the same, with the video meeting going on at the same time. So it's not like you have to do like different meetings and that, you can just do the one thing. And we had a meeting today using that for NetJolt too. Quite a few of the NetJolt TPOs are here as well. But no, it's been working really well. We've got a few other ideas up our sleeves, but we're still waiting on confirmation from the powers that be. We're not really known for being the most digital organisation, but luckily Carto are very, very full on, like they're just embracing the whole thing. So we're quite lucky, but the thing now is to try and encourage everybody else to get involved. And the whole thing about Zoom, I mean, people that have never used it before, suddenly, you see them and they're like, oh, I've managed it, and you see this great big beaming face, and they're so pleased. And yeah, it's really making a big difference to us. So yeah, we're fans of Zoom Pro. It's only $11.99 a month, and I think it's really money well spent for us. So I don't get a commission.
It's still a big issue with local authorities and Zoom. About this, yes, it's much more secure, but sharing, and I know that a lot of local authority people are just not allowed to use Zoom, so they're looking at other platforms now. Max, you had your hand up again?
Yeah, again to Catherine. I mean, we are using the same version of Zoom, and I find it very useful. But there are other packages there. So regardless of what we are using, I wanted to ask, what is her scrutiny panel doing? Because, you know, whether you use Zoom or you use Teams, or as long as you can talk to one another and find a way to communicate. But I'm interested in knowing what project are they working on in terms of scrutiny.
Well, we've just had our am I on mute? No. We've just had our results back from our tenant satisfaction survey. So we're just in the early stages of going through that, and figuring out, you know, what the tenants want to tackle first. Because, to be quite honest, it's not the greatest results ever. So they can take their pick, really. So we had a chat with one of the directors last Thursday. And we're just gonna see how it goes, but it's been going really well. And instead of having monthly meetings, we're looking at having weekly meetings.
Good.
So I think that says quite a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, it's great because you know, like, I know there's a lot of people who are in worse situations, but, you know, I'm on my own with 2 kids, and seeing other adults, you know, on the screen and having a chat and that, I really, really appreciate it. So I'm glad that Carto invite me along to all our meetings, because it's got a social side to it too, and that's really important.
Yeah.
Well, if you choose something along repairs, because obviously your panel is similar to our panel, we just got the results of the survey and they're looking at areas. It might be good if we were to be working on the similar area, maybe just to once or twice have a meeting all together, because that's what we did with 5 Housing Group. Both scrutiny panels, just by coincidence, were looking at the same area before. And then we work together, with the 2 panels work together. You know, it's very useful to bounce back ideas and to compare the results, and the questions that one panel has can be, you know, it's very enlightening. But then they did their review independently, but because it was the same subject, it was very useful. So now if we are all connected, I think it opens up the possibility for different panels to talk to members of other panels that might be quite far away. But if we are all using Zoom, for example, it's very easy to do that. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm sure they'd be up for that. I'll speak to them about it. But yeah, like I say, we're still at the early stages of it. We've still got to have the presentation from the people that did the survey and that. Yeah. No, even before they've decided on a topic, I'm sure they'd love to kind of hook up with your tenants and just, you know, just have a chat about things in general. More the merrier. So
wonderful. Thank you.
All right, Fab.
Has anyone else got anything they want to ask, or any contributions they want to make about good practice? Some of the people that we haven't heard from yet, anybody want to chip in? Stephen, I can see you. How about you? How are you doing? Ha ha.
I'm fine, thank you. Just want to add, our property services team are quite dispersed. One of our officers lives in Deanston, near Doon, quite far away from Kirkintilloch. But she's been communicating with our tenants using WhatsApp for them to photograph repairs, to get repairs dealt with, and that's actually been really successful and is very easy. Most tenants use WhatsApp, and it's very easy for them to use the video chat or the camera.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else out there want to contribute what they're up to? I'm sure there's a lot of really good stuff going on. Please don't be shy. This is TP, people. Nobody's shy in TP. Anybody else? How about Sheena or Claire or Siobhan from Northern Ireland? Claire, I can see you. So you're on. You need to unmute.
Am I unmuted? Is that okay? Not me?
Yeah.
Well, I work for Choice Housing in Northern Ireland, and a bit similar to some of the rest of the TP officers in Scotland. We've been carrying out welfare calls to all our tenants, with not just our vulnerable tenants. Initially, the calls were just to vulnerable tenants, and then we decided to extend it to general needs. But we have 10,000 general needs tenants. So it was split between housing officers, us and TP, and also property services officers. And I find that really useful. I think Evelyn was saying that, just chatting to, I think customers were just happy to hear somebody from Choice actually, you know, speak to them. Some had issues, some didn't. We had a set 5 questions, which I'm happy to share, that we asked our tenants, and some of it also related to, one was repairs. Not that we wanted a list of repairs, because obviously we're only doing emergency, but one related to if they needed to be, if they needed support in terms of their universal credit, if they had a rent increase letter recently, did they know how to go onto their portal to be able to make the changes? So we did a wee guide so we could WhatsApp that to them to show them how. We also took their email addresses when we were on the phone, because we realized that that was something on our database that we didn't have. So from that sort of exercise, it's been useful to get those other contacts. And I've just started the past week. We have our TP structure is like with a central forum and then 4 regional forums, because we're all over Northern Ireland. And I've just started to, with the help of supporting communities, who we couldn't do without, is Martin, their TP or their digital inclusion officer, has helped me get our central forum members up on Zoom. So we're again using Zoom Pro. And yeah, we've had 2 meetings so far. Well, first one was just a chat and a coffee, and then the one this morning was, yesterday was, you know, we sort of had an agenda, and we're going to try and roll it out. I'm not sure how it'll go involving all the other regions, because some have maybe 10, 20, one has 30. So I'm not sure how I'd cope with 30 on Zoom. And then the newsletter, I've been speaking to our comms team, and we're going to have our editorial team by Zoom, because we need a small team of about 7 or 8 of us. So we think we can manage that. At the minute, I'm trying to write an action plan for 2021, which is a bit weird, because of how much of it we can do. But so that's sort of where we are, similar to most others.
I see Lisa, you've got your hand up. Lisa?
Yes, I was just going to pick up what Claire was saying there about getting people's email addresses. That's something, again, that I've highlighted with Stirling Council, that we can use this as a good opportunity to get people's up-to-date mobile numbers or up-to-date telephone numbers or up-to-date email addresses, because they're constantly changing, or else they're not logged on the system. And I think that's kind of getting that message across, that is trying to find out what's the positives that can come out of this. So it's like getting more up to date, actually getting more people speaking face to face, well, not face to face, but over the phone to tenants that maybe they've never spoken to before. And it's also getting tenants to use new platforms, like using Messenger, like using Teams. It is scary. It's scary for us as well, but it's definitely, I think once we've used it, it's such a good thing to have, and it's something that I think Max kind of touched on, that people that can't come along to meetings, we've got another platform they can use now. So yeah, we can't have a meeting at whatever 6 o'clock at that night or whatever, but we can have a video messaging meeting. So I think it's just kind of trying to pick up on what we can all learn from this, and changing the way that we're working, and keep doing that when everything ever goes back to normal. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I see Kelly Foster. Kelly, you've got your hand up. Hello, Kelly. Hi,
how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm Kelly. I'm from Northern Ireland. I work for ARC Housing Association here, not in Scotland. We're quite a small housing association, but what I found over this lockdown is phoning our tenants has made our housing officers sort of realise the importance of tenant engagement that they may not have realised before, because it was always me banging on about it, or our director banging on about it, and they didn't maybe see how important it is and how an impact of engaging with them can have. I also think this has strengthened our community links within the local community, because the community has pulled together and realised that as a housing association, if we work in partnership, you know, we can't do it all, they can't do it all, but if we work together, I think that's what we've got out of it. We really strengthened those community relations and the partnerships and the relationship with our tenants. I think that has strengthened greatly.
Good, thanks, Kelly.
Quite small, but it's been good.
Good, thank you so much. I think Caroline Malone's got her hand up. Hello, Caroline. Come in, Caroline. It's like Eurovision Song Contest, isn't it? Hi, Caroline.
Hello, hi all.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm finding that really interesting. I have to say, just sitting listening to everyone. Sometimes when you've been in the game a long time, you think you know everything, don't you? And it's just such a refreshing interlude to everything to do with COVID-19. So thank you for that. Abbeyfield Scotland, I'm the service manager for Abbeyfield Scotland. We've got 14 properties in Scotland, and our tenant base is vulnerable, average age of 90. So engagement can be difficult, but actually I've picked up on some really good things just from you all, because lockdown started, it was fairly easy for us to go into lockdown. It's going to be really hard for us to start easing that off, because we put this protective wall around our tenants living in these small sheltered units. And some of the things that are coming out of that are PPE discussions. You know, should we be and immediately what I thought is we need to up our keep in touch calls with tenants, and make sure that we are, because 9 weeks is a long time not to see your housing officer face to face, despite the fact that there's staff on, you know, there's a member of staff there during the day, but it's, you know, they want maybe to have a word with a decision maker. But the things like PPE, once they start to meet family again and be outdoors a bit more, it's those kind of reassuring calls. Someone mentioned PPE, and of course it's just such a big topic for us at the moment. So you know, picked up on that one. The quizzes are starting to take off, and I think it was something that Lisa said about, you know, or someone said about, it might have even been Kelly, about keeping those meetings, like keeping Zoom or Teams or Messenger calls, and finding a way to continue with them even as lockdown. It might actually be the preferred choice for a lot of people, and it will help us too to continue with all that, you know, customer feedback. Today we held a particularly urgent meeting with a small group of our tenants about a decision that needed to be taken about a refurbishment, and we were a bit apprehensive about it, but despite some hearing issues, they actually just enjoyed the experience, you know. So good. Anyway, that's me.
Thank you, Caroline. And Des Cross, Des, you've got your hand up.
Indeed.
Hi there. Where are you?
I'm over here somewhere. Probably up in the corner somewhere.
Hi, Des.
Hi there. It was very interesting actually listening to you all. I'm over in Stoneleigh for Hebridean Housing. And we've not been using the platforms like Teams or anything to talk with tenants, so I find that really interesting. And going forward, I wonder whether our housing officers would actually be interested in doing that, because things like sign-up interviews are going to be a struggle, and there's lots of other things as well as the welfare calls, which we've been doing. We've all been doing that. If we've spoken to a tenant, it doesn't matter who we are, we've just automatically gone, how are you doing? But the housing officers are doing that routine, but everyone else is doing it if they've had to contact somebody. I'm going to talk to somebody about garden assistance very shortly, and I will have that same sort of nice conversation, if you like, as well as answering their question, and probably find them on the call for about 15 minutes. just so they've got somebody else to talk to. But I found that interesting. But the point that I was really thinking of is I do the newsletter over at HHP, which I've recently just done, and we took I suppose really I took the decision, although it was agreed, to do it as an electronic copy, which is great, in theory great, and it's up on the website. But how do you get it out there? and make sure that everybody knows. I mean, yes, we sent it. Well, I sent it to all the email addresses, and as somebody said, emails change, and I've had to go and do some extensive updating of our system on the back of that to update, but then and encourage people to try and give us the updated email address, which I think going forward we're going to need it more and more. I just wondered what other people's experiences were, if they've got any better ideas than mine. Really.
So the challenge is, other than maximum stamp, is there anyone get any? I mean, I wonder, Evelyn, you were saying that when you're on your calls with all your tenants, you're asking them what their email address is.
Yeah, and
that's it. No, you're off again. No, can't hear you, Evelyn.
She's muted.
There you are. You're back on again.
There's calls coming into me and it keeps muting it because there's somebody else trying to call me on Teams.
Okay.
So because it's coming in the background, I keep getting cut off. Okay, hopefully I'm just ignoring them. Unlikely, but I'm just ignoring them anyway. Yeah, so I try to update. I keep a contact sheet just now because we are contacting all the customers, but I've taken responsibility for our amenity only, because obviously I'm missing the face-to-face contact. I'm renowned for my ability to talk, shall we say. So as part of that, I'm updating any details I've got, and whether that's a member of their family that we've got a phone number and they say, oh no, that member of the family is no longer contactable, contact this number. So I'm updating that and updating our systems as a matter of course. And then obviously there's things that has arisen, like one customer ended up going into a temporary hospital and then is now going into full-time care. So things like that, I would contact the housing manager, give them all the details, the people to phone, and so it's about maintaining great communications, and also updating your systems and taking advantage of the opportunity to speak to people firsthand, and ask them, and in my case it's about, what about getting involved? Do you fancy being an armchair critic? So I try to get as much in out of that call as I can too. But because I'm doing it on a regular basis, I'm probably calling every 10 days to 2 weeks. So because I'm building a rapport with them, so it's an opportunity to speak to people. And even though they can't see, I mean, one lady said to me, she's a bit of a crafter like myself, and she said, oh, I really hope I meet you after this. What a great chat we've had, so you're building rapport with people that you otherwise wouldn't come across, and it's lovely. Yeah. So I think it's great to be able to take the opportunity to get as much information out of that call as you can, and sometimes it's about what drives people crazy, or what really irks them about the organisation or about some process, and it just helps you to drive higher satisfaction levels too. So it's about being a sponge and soaking up all that information, really.
I think you're right, Evelyn. I think that it's not about missing the trick. Once people have got used to you calling, you ask additional questions. What's the best thing about being a tenant? What would you change? If you were the chief exec or the senior officer, can I take your name? Because we're really keen. We're going to be looking at that within the next couple of weeks. So you're not losing a trick. So we've got 2 more people with their hands up. That's Sheena and Mandy. And then I think we'll have to call a halt because we did say an hour. And we are going to be doing more of these if folk are kind of generally nodding that they're getting a lot out of that. So that's great. So I'll come to Sheena first. If your connectivity is going to work, Sheena.
We'll try it. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Listen, one of the first things I would want to say is we have some phenomenal work going on with the community groups in Northern Ireland who have really stood up and have taken on board a lot of things and are helping out in their communities. So one of the things that perhaps down the line is we might want to share that with you, the sort of things that are going on here, from getting funding to purchase tablets for families who have, who are deprived, can't afford a tablet or whatever, things like that, to providing food or whatever. Part of the role that we've played is a lot of organisations, a number of housing associations and the housing executive in particular have put basically money where their mouth is and have said to their groups, we have funds here to cover you for the COVID. Come to us with applications of what it is that you want to do. And so we have been assisting the groups to fill out the applications, giving them advice, and that the housing executive had a grant of £260,000, up £1,500 total. That was gone within 2 days, the number of applications. They just were overwhelmed with it. So there is an awful need out there. So we have a funding officer who has been able to assist groups to do that. And again, we've drawn up, good practice tips in terms of making applications for funding. We're more than happy to share that. In terms of digital inclusion, we have a digital inclusion officer, and he's been really busy, this last wee while now, helping people to get, to use their smartphone to access meetings and things like that. So just taking that first step to actually continue to be involved online can be a big stopping block for people. So so that's been available. And again, we have useful information about how to set up the Zoom and whatever. Again, we're more than happy to share that.
That would be great, thank you.
And finally, I suppose, and around training, you see, I'm old-fashioned, and I always thought training can only be done face-to-face. Okay. But this opportunity, well, COVID has brought a big opportunity for us. And we, in the space of 8-9 weeks, we have moved our accredited courses online, and they are going a bomb. Maybe that's the wrong word to use here, but they are. But they're real. We thought, who is going to want to do this? We are running 3 accredited courses, per week now, on community capacity building, and people are saying to us, it is so handy for them because they can fit it in around their caring duties or their work, if there are work or if people are furloughed or whatever. So, I think this has changed us, how we're going to work in the future. Mm-hmm. And I would say that in the future, it'll be a blend of both online and face-to-face. So again, anything that we have, we're more than happy to share with yourselves. Okay.
Thanks for that, Sheena. And I think Mandy gets the honour of having the final question. Mandy?
It's not really a question, just kind of responding to what other people have said. First of all, Sheena, I totally agree with you. We're finding, previously there was a bit of reluctance from tenants to meet electronically, but now, their attitude is changing. And I think it's something that will continue. In fact, we've actually converted a bit of our TP budget into a digital budget, which is going to enable us to help people to get online, to provide tablets if they need it, and actually encourage them to engage with us that way. The other thing I want to say was Carolyn was talking about that as well, about continuing with the digital. And I love the blended terminology. I think there's always going to be a room for face-to-face. It's never going to go away. But I think after this, we're going to have a lot more buy-in into digital communications. Like everybody else, we've been doing tenant welfare checks. The tenant participation team have been very involved in that. We've been leading on it. And we've got 14,000 tenants. So it was quite a task. We've pretty much finished that now, and we're kind of getting back to making contact again with all our interested tenants. We're currently looking at using either Teams or Zoom. We've kind of put a request into our ICT that an exception be made for tenant participation because we feel that Zoom's more tenant friendly. But if not, then we'll have to make do with Teams.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say to Des was the electronic, digital copy of the newsletter. That's what we've done as well. It's on our website, but we emailed it out to everybody we had email addresses for, and people that we didn't have email addresses for, we sent a text link to the website, and the response to that was very, very good. I think I got stats from our digital services team just a couple of days after I'd sent the texts out, and over 4,000 people had accessed the newsletter online. We've also been promoting it through social media. So it's, I mean, to be honest, when we post it out, we know that a lot of people don't even open it. So who knows? I mean, maybe digital newsletter is the way to go as well. So,
okay, thanks.
Anyway,
being TP. Thanks, Mandy. Sorry.
No bother. Thank everybody else.
Finished?
Yeah, I was finished.
Okay, so inevitably being TP people were kind of shy in retiring. Nobody's got anything to say. I found it very interesting today. I hope you did. I thought the speakers were great. I thought the contributions from the rest of the room, the platform. I think, Mandy, I will say to you that Teams is much better than it used to be. You can get more people in, and tenants can download an app for free. So you don't need to buy the £150 license. Elaine will be in touch. She'll just email round to everybody. We would welcome your comments about anything you think we could do better for this experience. Any other topics that you would like us to hear? We've managed to get Michael Cameron from the Scottish Housing Regulator. He's going to be doing a session in June. So there's a few other sessions that we've got lined up. Obviously, it'd be great to see everybody there. And I say Elaine will be in touch with that, and also about the TP catch-up session. So there's going to be a few. So I can only say huge round of applause to our fabulous presenters. A huge round of applause to the people that I persuaded to take part. And thanks to everybody, and keep safe, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your beautiful sunny weather day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
The presenters stay on. Lisa, Evelyn, Max and Elaine, can you stay on? And everyone else.
Okay. Bye, everybody else.
Bye. Cheers, folks. Max, have you gone?
No, I'm here.
You're here. How are you? No, I think that went really well.